in the form of a retirement letter from Bill Jones after 14 years of outstanding service for our church. So this story is brought to you by the alphabet. The letter A, as in Alabama, which was the basis for many stories we have enjoyed over the years. B, as in beginning the search for Bill and Balmoral. C stands for committee. Search, that is, in a cast of characters. And I like to have them kind of raise their hand if they're here. I think we've got Kurt Wilson, Kathy Singleton, Tom Berry right down here, Rosemary Banton, Phil Shannon, Steve Rutherford, back there in the back. And let's clap and give them a hand. It is difficult to describe the performance of this committee. There was that special feeling that would take into account the entire group. Some of the meetings would last several hours. And yet, and though we were tired, someone would always step up and be the catalyst for that particular night, and the feeling would spread. It was like a well-played game when a team is playing and there's that feeling of rhythm and synergy. C also stands for this community of faith, who will greatly miss Bill and Lila and the Jones family very much. We spent countless hours writing and editing the church information form. Each committee member took a section to make sure we captured the uniqueness of Balmoral. We then spent several months reviewing resumes for ministers who might be a match. There were very few matches until a resume arrived from Johnson City, Tennessee. Bill later told us that he was about to pull that resume and take it out of circulation when the call from Memphis came. We told him a group of us wanted to come and have dinner with them Saturday night, go to church on Sunday morning, and then meet with them after church on Sunday afternoon. I remember some confusion with the dress. We showed up on Saturday night dressed fairly formal, and Bill and Lila were in their East Memphis casual outfits. And the next day, when Bill felt he should dress up, we showed up casual. We were pumped. We were convinced that we had found the person and that we had a match. And we couldn't wait until the rest of the committee could get up to Johnson City and see Bill preach and hear Bill preach and tell his stories. We only visited one other pastor in the entire time. And then we extended the call to Bill. Also, on kind of a personal note, I will miss him singing in the choir. I kind of gave him a pat when he left this morning. He was a neighbor for 12 years. I will miss his great sense of humor, his ability to make the Bible come alive, and that special gift, his storytelling. We not only found a minister, we also found a friend. And well, I could continue with this alphabet theme right up into the letter T, which stands for the time we've had together, the time to share our faith stories, the time to grow and love, and truly, we have treasured these times together. Thanks.
Thank you. You okay? Yeah. Just step on the back.
I'm going to kind of do these in sets of twos and all. I've known Bill Jones for a number of years. Some of y'all have known him a lot longer. We have a group of folks that we call our driveway friends. That's how we met. We're either standing in our door waving at them in their driver's seat as they took our son to play with their son, or we were in our driver's seat waving at them in their doorway as they took our son to play with their son. And they were known only for about the first year as David's dad or David's mom. It wasn't until we were at a school event and they put those name tags on you that I realized that his name was different than his son's. That his was Bill and not David's dad. So that has grown into a relationship and time spent together. And one of my observations over the years has been those things that Bill believes strongly in, things about him, things about the world, things in the world, he's driven to share them with people, which is probably a good attribute if you're going to be a pastor. One of the things that Bill learned and believed a lot in and wanted to share with people was trips to the Quetico Provincial Province in Ontario, Canada. And in 1993, I was lucky enough, along with my 10-year-old son and a 16-year-old nephew, to join Bill and his son and nephew on a 10-day trip into the wilderness. Looking back over it, I realized something unusual about these trips that Bill never told me. They have no destination. You start and return to the start. There's no real object other than the journey itself. And what you make of that journey defines the quality of the trip. But it wasn't just the canoe trip that was the journey. From Memphis to Ely, Minnesota is 1,200 miles. If you make it in 2 days, that's 600 miles a day. If you've ever been in a car with 10-year-olds and 16-year-old males for a 600-mile car trip, there's a certain amount of challenge in that, I might say. Bill understanding that and wanting to share the joy of the journey, and this is the original sheet from 1993, prepared a 52-item list of things to look for on the trip so that we were all focused during those long days. And I just wanted to kind of share with y'all a little bit of the things that we were looking for. And I noticed that we didn't find 5. We missed 5 items. I don't know, Bill, if you remember any of them or not. Number 31 was an Exxon gas truck. We missed that. Number 44 was a Bob Evans restaurant. If you look at me, you can wonder how we missed that. And then we missed signs that had David's name, Ted's name, or Gene's name on it. But there were some other very interesting things on this list. And we'll just pick a few of them at random. If you go down here, there were all, of course, those nature items like number 8, a red-winged blackbird. And then, of course, there are transportation items that you'd hope to find, like a train moving, or a fire truck, or an ambulance. And then we got a little bit more specific, a UPS truck. I'm not sure about that, or VW Beetle. There was also the Mississippi River. He gave us an easy one. You go from here 20 miles and you can tick that one off. So after a little while, we realized during the day that we were all watching and looking for all of those things out there that were on this list. There were some that provided absolute entertainment and had social and political commentary. For instance, the bumper sticker, number 47, that we were looking for that says, "Don't blame me, I voted for Bush." And then, of course, we had those other easy ones like Lake Superior. When you get there, you know what it looks like. But one of the ones that caused a lot of interesting conversation and a lot of very serious laughs that all of us still talk about today, and it's kind of an adult-child gap thing, if you will. For those of us that know a little bit about English and pride ourselves in our understanding of language, we were ever on the lookout for something that's spelled B-U-T-T-E. Now, some of us know that to be a butte, and those some of us will probably be adults, and people, like I said, who read and things like that. But for 10-year-old boys, they were forever on the lookout for a butt. And I think we still comment about that today. There was one special moment in this trip when Bill said he was driving, and I think we were listening to a Harrison Keeler tape, and he knew where we were. We were up in the Wisconsin Dells, and there was a point in the road. He'd been there so many times, and he scratched his head and he said, "Didn't we put a pink elephant on that list? Because I have a feeling there's one in the area here." And we turned a corner, and off to the right, across an open field and a lake, was a big pink elephant. We got all excited about that. But since he'd been there, there was also a big orange gorilla and a few other things. And the kids got all excited and they started fighting for the pencil to mark those two off, which were 51 and 52, because it meant we were getting close to our destination. But we had already enjoyed the trip so far. So, as you go on trips in the future with your children or your grandchildren, and you round a corner and someone screams out, "Oh, look, a pink elephant or an orange gorilla," you have Bill Jones to thank for that particular little bit out there. Ever part of the trip, ever part of the journey often more important than the destination. I think that's a lesson Bill has shared with all of us over the years, and we thank you for it, Bill.
Some of you may not know the story of how Bill came to pursue a career in the ministry, and now be moving into storytelling. So,
You can call me Papa.
well, I'll get to that in a minute. A long time ago, in a town far, far away, there was a boy named George. George had a happy childhood, grew up, went away to college. In college, George went by the name Bill. Bill studied, worked hard, and pondered what to do next. Bill met Lida, they fell in love. Life was good, but Bill still faced the question, what next? Bill's parents laid it on the table for him. They said, "Son, you can either be a lawyer or a doctor." Bill thought about this. He discussed it with Lida. Lida pointed out that if he became a doctor, his new name would be Dr. Jones. Bill liked the sound of that, and so he decided to become a doctor. As you all know, there are many different kinds of doctors. Bill pondered the various areas of study he could pursue and was drawn time and time again to the study of stories. Bill decided he would be Dr. Jones, Doctor of Stories, and researched who he should study with. It became clear that Jesus was one of, if not the leading authority on telling stories, what with his parables and such. And so Dr. Jones went to work studying with the best. About the same time, Lida began a career bearing boys. She had 3 total, all fine young bucks. As a father, Dr. Jones went by the name Papa, but his children called him Bill. It soon became clear that Bill's professional skills were going to be well used in rearing children. Bill told the boys stories about the excesses of rock and roll, and stories about how too much TV and too many video games rot your brain and lead you nowhere. The boys reached deep into those stories for meaning and took up rock and roll instruments and video game controllers and pursued careers in those arenas. Bill told the stories about the dangers of big city living and how far, far away the East and West Coast were. The children were again moved by the power of Bill's stories and trucked off to San Francisco and Boston. Bill honed his skills as a storyteller over the course of several decades, and after a long career in the ministry, Bill decided to focus on storytelling full-time. I know I look forward to watching the effects of Bill's stories on the rest of the world, and I hope you do too.
My earliest memory is from 28 years ago when Bill was associate pastor at Waverly Road. And the memory is of him riding his blue bicycle, which Mom has kept in the backyard, if anyone wants to see it. He stuck me on a little plastic yellow seat on the back of the bike, and it was a dangerous ride. He would ride to church where I was in daycare, and there were all sorts of dangers. There were wild dogs that weren't cared for well in Kingsport, and they would chase us, and he would spray them with mace to keep them off of us. And the roads in Kingsport didn't all hook up, so he had to go through dirt paths and jump over ravines, and you know, I was...
That was a shortcut.
I was at risk of going flying off the bike. And the most dangerous thing was him getting his pants leg stuck in the chain. So he took care of that by tucking his pants into his socks, which was very attractive. I remember thinking how brave he was to make this dangerous trek. And I'm thinking now about this steady gig that he's had. Every week he's got a paying job. He barely comes in to the office, despite what some of you may think. And then he gets to come in on Sunday and tell you fine people what it's all about. But he's going to take a risk, give all that up, and go follow this dream of storytelling, and I think that's pretty brave also.
One of our first memories of Bill telling us stories is when as children he read to us The Lord of the Rings. This was a book about a short man who had it made. He was living and he was eating 5 meals a day and he didn't have any worries. But then he decided one day with a little urging from a wizard that he would go off on a great adventure. And I want to read a poem from this book that's about that. The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow if I can, pursuing it with weary feet until it joins some larger way, where many paths and errands meet, and whither then I cannot say. Now Fran Adicott would like to say some more words.
I have my handkerchief ready. Well, let's see. I met Bill and Lida on my 40th birthday. They were visiting Memphis, and Phil Smith thought they might enjoy being able to meet some of the church members in a social setting, so he invited them to this surprise party. Surprise for me. Well, what they witnessed was a never-ending series of jokes and poems and gifts about sagging and drooping and wrinkled body parts that were going to fall off tomorrow. And so that would have probably run most ministers off, but not Bill. He and Lida said if we could have that much fun just laughing about getting older, that seemed like a good group of people to grow older with. So I guess we learned then that Bill had a good sense of humor and was flexible. So after he came, Bill joined the choir and has supported us and enriched the music program in many ways. He brought a wonderful knowledge of music and experiences from other churches and other choirs and introduced us to great pieces of music. He brought There Shall a Star Come Out of Jacob and The Last Words of David, for example. And he has been a good sport about learning some music that he didn't like at first hearing, like Jabula Jesu. We've been working on this rhythmically challenging African piece for several months now, and it may be that that's the reason he decided to retire. So I'm sorry about that, that's the case. One of the first things I asked Bill to do was to sing the role of Charlie Brown in our young adult production of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And he agreed, and we all went to work and had a great time. It was great for the young people to get a chance to know Bill.
The director's over here in the corner.
The director's over here. Thank you, and that was our second go at it, wasn't it, Jim? That's right. And Bill really got into his role of Charlie Brown. He even offered to shave his beard. But I thought that would be a little scary, so we just didn't. But he got a husky pencil. What? He got He got a husky pencil to use as a prop, and he's used it ever since as his choir pencil, and it's never been sharpened. I don't know if that means he's never corrected his music or exactly what, but he marks down everything I say, right? Oh, did you? Okay, good enough. So we went through a lot of emotional ups and downs in this particular production. I think Linus was dating Snoopy, and then he broke up with Snoopy and started dating Lucy, and Pigpen had a crush on Woodstock, and it got very complicated, but Bill held us all together and kept it all going. Now, another year, Bill sang the role of Jonah in a production with children's choir. David was in that production. And it was a great group of kids, had a great time, and Bill was a good example. He learned his lines, and he practiced his songs. He came on time for rehearsals. He kept his shoes on and didn't eat somebody else's snack. And the kids thought that he was a great guy, and they particularly liked throwing him overboard. They got into that. He was a good sport then, too. We have learned a lot of new hymns with Bill. And you may wonder how he learned all those hymns. Well, Bill was the one who decided that Balmoral should have that new hymnal, so he ordered it. We were one of the first churches in the country to have the new Presbyterian hymnal. And so that year at Montreat, we all took a copy of the hymnal with us. And so every night, instead of going out to dinner or going out to other events, we sat in Mrs. Shosha's living room and sang hymns. And so we sang 642 hymns, and some of them twice.
We started banging on the floor with the broom.
Now, a couple of years ago, we did a Broadway night where we just sang lots of favorite show tunes. And I wanted Bill to sing something emotional and inspirational, like Bring Him Home from Les Miserables. So it kind of show off his beautiful tenor voice. But he wanted to sing Plant a Radish. Which he did, and it was great. And if you don't remember that song, it's all about raising kids. If you plant a radish, you know you're going to get a radish coming up. If you plant a potato, you know you're going to get a potato coming up. But when you raise children, when you have children, you don't always know exactly how they're going to turn out. But I have to say that Bill and Lida have done a wonderful job raising this wonderful family. We all love them so much. And when you call, oh dear. Okay, I can do it. I know I can. Okay.
Think of me skinny dip.
Okay. When you call a minister and plant him in your midst, you don't know exactly what you're going to get then either. But we will remember the seeds you have sown among us. Turn the camera off. And we will work very hard to continue to grow and become the people that you hoped we would be, and tend your garden for many generations to come.
Thank you.
We're going to have one more storyteller in a few minutes, 10 minutes or so. And this is going to be a real good one with props and everything. So you need to stay around and see.
You don't know, but I'm going to do it anyway. Bill, come here. Come here. It's the only time in 7 years you've done exactly what I've told you to. But
Anybody that believes that, I've got a bridge I can set.
okay, you all know that Bill is from Alabama. This might be more fun this time. And he went to college.
But who knows where I was born?
in college. And they were married and had those 3 young, what were they called? Bucks. But he went to seminary at Columbia with Lida. They were married then, right?
Yes.
And later received his D-Min from Louisville. First served as his first call was to associate pastor at Waverly Road Presbyterian Church in Kingsport, and then was called to be pastor at Covenant Pres in Johnson City. And came to Balmoral January 1st, 1988. That's good. Sadie, you're a math whiz. That's good. Bill, take off your shoes.
We've already done this at Presbyterian, by the way.
That's all. We just said.
That actually feels good.
Now, most of you know that he is a big Dr. Seuss fan.
Oh.
Those, by the way, were a gift from the staff several years ago. We're all
When I started
business.
thinking about retiring.
We're all business up here. And one of his great passions is canoeing in the Quetico Provincial Park in Ontario. And he's even been published in the Boundary Waters Journal. But you know, Bill is not going to have much time for these pastimes because he is answering a new call to be a storyteller. So he's going to put on a new hat. That looks good. New hat by helping people explore the power of storytelling in faith development, community building, and personal healing. Oh, you're supposed to take off your shoes. It doesn't go with the hat. Now, I've worked in 3 denominations and 5 different churches, and something like 12 pastors. In fact, after I'm somewhere, they all leave after a while. There's about 3 or 4 out of 12 that have been great to work with, and you're one of them. I can't do this.
See, talk to Fran Adams.
What did you say? What?
Be skinny dip.
I think that our staff has done a good job, I hope, of being a mirror.
No, I can't be that.
Of being what the church should be.
Will you come to serve together? We have come together to serve using our God-given gifts. We prayed together, laughed together, been through some very tough times together, but have worked together with love and, would that be respect? Thank you for this witness. Lida says I have to say something else, and I don't know what to say because there aren't any last words.
I told you what to say.
She told me what to say.
I can't say it.
Along the lines of a little over 14 years ago, in October, we came here to look for a house, and you all were having an Oktoberfest, an adult night, and we came to that and just enjoyed it so much. We said, this is a church we can go to because they know how to do a party. And we thank you so much for this party, for this generous gift, and all the generous gifts that you've given us, and especially for yourselves. You are beautiful people, and we'll never forget you. And I noticed noticed in the paper when Denton McClellan retired from Germantown that he gave some advice to the church there. And I was thinking, I really wasn't going to do that, but I will tell you this. Fix the leaks.
We were saying that 15 years ago.